Hi everybody, welcome to the latest CTO Craft Bytes event. Today we are going to be looking at growing a culture of empowerment through ownership. If this is your first time at a CTO Craft Bytes, let me tell you a little bit more about the group. CTO Craft is a mentoring and coaching community for technology leaders all around the world, focusing on supporting technologists and their leadership growth. Community members are currently over 7,000, and CTO Craft provides them with one-to-one coaching, mentoring groups, a curated Slack community, and events just like this one. If you're not a member of the CTO Craft community already and you're interested in becoming one, or you'd like to get updates on these events and emails, I'm just going to post some links into the chat soon that will help you do just that. Huge thanks today to our headline partner, AWS, and our partner, the Software House, for helping make these Bytes events possible. I'm Emma. I'm Chief of Staff at 101 Ways, a tech consultancy out of London and Amsterdam, and I'm going to be hosting for you today. I'm joined by Marek and Tom. Marek, do you want to give us a quick introduction first?
Yep. So it's hello everyone. I'm Marek. I'm the CTO of the Software House, and basically we provide a variety of technical services and consultations. And I'm basically leading the cooperation with our clients, and the topic that we'll be tackling today is kind of very interesting today for me, because we want to empower our teams that we provide to our clients as much as possible.
Cool, thank you. And Tom?
Yeah, sure, thank you. My name is Tom Kwiatkowski. I'm CTO of the Pet Media Group. Pet Media Group is an international group owning pet marketplaces. So we are specialized on trust and safety animal welfare, and make sure that pet sellers and pet buyers come together in a safe and trustful way, and in order to provide a lovely home for their future pets. We own several marketplaces around the globe. The largest one is Pets for Homes in UK. Together, we have roughly, let's say, 7 million unique visits on our marketplaces. So pretty great, actually. Company is 4 years old. We're already profitable, if I might say this, which is, of course, very nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward, and thank you very much for having me. Empowering teams is actually one of my key pillars of my job, and I'm very happy to talk about the topic together with Marek and you, Emma.
Excellent, thank you. And in the spirit of pets, I'm taking a huge risk today. Just to let everybody know, I've got the dog asleep behind me in my office. So if she suddenly sees a cat or something out the window, I will dive for the mute button as quickly as I can. But hopefully she'll stay asleep.
Highly welcome.
So should we be quiet? Should we be speaking?
Don't break the
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for joining us. So those of you then that are watching and are with us today, if you're not used to Crowdcast as a format, just have a look over on the right hand side. You'll see a chat window. By all means, share your thoughts, chat to one another, say hello over in the chat window. If you want to ask any questions at any time, then down the bottom you'll see a little button that says ask a question. So pop them in there and we will pick up your questions as we go. So let's jump in then. So growing a culture of empowerment through ownership. What do we mean by that? Why was this subject so important? Who wants to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I can say, I mean, why this is important? Because usually individuals want to be empowered. They want to, step in, want to be heard and seen, not only in private life, but also, of course, in their business life. And this is great. This is actually something that I'm always heading for, and actually, again, like a key pillar of my work is actually to provide guidance to get there. And but it's a journey, so it doesn't come for free, or you just drop the term, now you're empowered. And this is why it's really important to also talk about this. And this is for sure a journey, and it's actually a cultural change, and comes with a lot of let's say, things that also need to work outside of those empowered teams to make teams empowered, actually.
Yeah,
Marek?
that's true. Yeah, so this is important because we have to realize that the only way we can actually succeed in creating software is to make people want to create it. And one of the that's why I also lead this thought of DX, the developer's experience, meaning that actually in the current setup of the IT, this is very important to make sure that the developers are kind of happy and they want to. And not only developers, by the way, but all the team members, right? Maybe call it this way, because I really want to treat it this way. But basically, everyone wants to have the same goal to succeed in the project, right? And they really have to feel it. And I think this is very important to actually make this ownership on the teams. Well, we have done a dozen of projects, right? And in the past, we were also doing this kind of body leasing projects, different kinds of things, and sometimes I saw that the same developer, the same employee worked very fine, was very engaged, was very, very successful, and on the other projects they were kind of underperforming, let's say, right? And mainly this was if you see if he really felt if this is if he or she really felt the ownership of what has been doing there, right? It's if people treat the project as their own child, as I say, right? They are treating completely different. This is a completely set of people, and in opposed to really like putting someone into the completely different environment, and it's just impacting the performance of the people in a great scale of what actually if they feel that this is their own thing, or they're just doing their job there.
It's interesting because what I heard was almost two sides of the coin there. So for Tom, I think your original statement was that everybody wants to be empowered, everybody wants to feel empowered, and I guess and what I heard from you, Marek, was more around why a leader would want their people to be empowered. Because so you could just say that why is it important then to leaders? And I think it was nice then because we just kind of heard both sides of that as well. I'm recalling a client a really long time ago where one of the observations when we went in was that they were aiming for autonomy, and they devolved an awful lot of decision making right down to the teams, or they ended up with chaos. So for autonomy and ended up with anarchy and ended up with chaos. And what they were missing was that alignment, so that they devolved it so much that actually everybody was like, well, then this quarter we're going to do this, and this quarter we're going to do this. And what they'd lost was that kind of cohesion. So do you think it can go too far when you're allowing that empowerment and autonomy?
Everything can go too far, right? But this is a great point, Emma, you make. I mean, this is where the journey comes into play. Two sides of the coin, leadership has an idea, kind of direction. The team want to be empowered, and this is where the magic happens. How to bring both sides sounds already a bit negative, but yeah, both parties kind of together. And there are several ways of achieving this. So let me maybe speak up based on my experience and on the environments I'm working in. So this is the gist of everything, like how to create trust, mutual trust between both parties, and how to unite them in a sense of goals. So why we are doing this. And this is especially, I believe, where leadership comes into play to provide in this kind of environments. The override should be more on the why you guys are doing this and that, why we are taking this direction, what are our success factors, when do we define ourselves as being successful, but not providing the how. The how in this case should more come from the team. And there are several ways to achieve this. I mean, how to achieve empowerment first. I mean, there are, again, several ways. Let me point out one. It's maybe on the smaller scale. It starts with, in case you run Scrum in your companies, you know, are the teams able to actually really commit to their sprint backlog in a very independent manner, so they get a set of stuff that needs to be done, and they are empowered enough, they are heard, they gain trust, and they are able to commit to only a subset of what maybe management is, you know, what management want to have. And this is where empowerment comes into play and maybe kind of starts, you know, both parties are heard, but there's trust in the team that if they commit to a specific set and they believe they can achieve this, then everybody ideally should be fine. Maybe some negotiations come into place. Yes, absolutely. Discussion is allowed. But in the end, this is what empowerment is. People are able to influence the system, and they are able to raise their voice in a sense that they are heard, and there is trust. So this is maybe on the smaller scale. And I think what is a great way to connect leadership and teams is a well implemented OKR framework, for example. This is a great way to actually combine company goals, being company OKRs, with then going down to the team objectives and ultimately actually to the initiatives, aka epics, for example, which the teams are actually working on stories in sprints. So you can combine both worlds, so to say, you know, business goals and then let's say operational goals. And so there are ways to achieve this. However, still this is a journey. Implementing Scrum is a journey, implementing trust is a journey, and implementing OKRs properly is for sure a journey too. But it's possible, absolutely. So this, live inside of something like this right now with Pet Media Group. Yeah, it's also empowerment of me, you know, like being the CTOs, for example, like when I, you know, when you have this kind of vision in kind of way how to do things, and it's great to be heard, you know, and because I mean, I'm over communicating anyway, so I always explain why I'm doing things the way I do them, but it's yeah, I don't need to only to empower, you know, I feel this every day on my own, so to say, so it's a mutual empowerment.
And Marek, where have you seen it? Do you think it's possible to go too far? Can you understand that relationship or that balance between kind of autonomy and anarchy?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Yeah, as Tom said, you can always go too far, but it's more about understanding the final objective, right? This is why I always encourage teams to ask for the whole business context, for the whole idea, right? And this is usually the miscommunication problem, is that actually team builds something that they are happy with, but it doesn't solve the ultimate issue that was there at the beginning, right? And it was because it wasn't maybe communicated clearly enough, or maybe somebody decided that, okay, maybe this is not relevant, right? I think that everything is relevant, right? So I am always encouraging full transparency with the teams, and development teams should work with marketing, with sales, with everyone. They should at least have the whole idea, the whole context. What are the other gears in this machine, right? And when they what's this piece that they participate on, right? And this is very important to avoid this anarchy. It's actually to set this ultimate goal, right? And as Tom said, it's more about saying them what we want to achieve rather than how we want to achieve, right? Tom?
Yeah, absolutely, fully agree. And again, I believe there are frameworks, processes. I don't know how you call it. OKR works for us very well. And this is a perfect example, I believe, where you can state what is the business goal, why we are doing the things that we are doing. And the teams, I mean, that also depends on the maturity of the whole organization, you know, but leadership can provide the goals, explain why we are doing what we are doing, you know, what is our business strategy. They provide maybe more guiding rails somehow, you know, so you know what direction. I mean, guiding rails can be so many things, like processes in the company, you know, some kind of agreement that we don't launch new programming languages every second week to, you know, become some kind of course. And this is where it comes together. And then, you know, then it comes to the team. They understand, okay, this is the company objective. What are the guiding rails, maybe to establish team objectives. And from there on, the negotiation begins between leadership and teams. And they try to agree on a smaller set of a directional piece and how to achieve this. And this is how you can empower teams instead of presenting to them a laundry list of features that needs to be done. You know, you are empowered to do this now. Yeah, and then they will do this. Is this successful in the end? Well, and this is maybe why it's also important to distinguish between the progress of, let me stay in the terminology of Scrum, like epics and stories, for example. It's great, 100% success. Doesn't mean necessarily that we move the needle into the direction of the KR that we agreed on, you know, key result. But this is great because, you know, we have small batches with sprints, for example. We can constantly observe if we are just finalizing the work as a team, or are we also move the needle or not. And I think this is a great way of transparency, negotiation. Both parties understand if we go in the right direction.
Yeah, that's actually my question to you, Tom, about because you have mentioned Scrum and sprints, and I also had a couple of experiences that the team was so focused on delivering the particular sprint right?
Goals,
yeah, so that they didn't see the whole picture, right? They were focused on doing stuff from sprint to sprint to sprint to sprint. Yeah, so every sprint was the success, but actually if I ask them, okay, but where you are with the whole thing, right, they just don't know. So how to avoid this, and what is the line here?
Yeah, and this is this is a great question, and this is where a proper governance of OKRs and Scrum comes into play. There are tools for this, for example, where you actually observe the progress of sprints. Awesome. You see this in Jira, for example, all the time. Great. But the KRs that the team want to achieve and why they are doing the things that they are doing, this needs to be exposed. That needs to be graded constantly. So you find a correlation between the actual operational work that we are doing and do we move the needle, the KR needle, like is something progressing or not? And this is just a matter of consistency, you know. This is where also leaderships come into place. Do we have enough data? Do we see actually, I mean, people are working and we don't see things change. Do we have the right tools? Are we experimenting? Are we, oh God, this is a different talk, you know, how to do this.
I'm biting my tongue as well. So I'm like, you touch on Scrum. That's like my, that's
my area.
My immediate reaction, I have to say, my immediate reaction when it's that kind of, well, we succeeded in the sprint, but you know, we've got everything we've done with, did we do in the sprint, but what about the product? I would really question that team's sprint goal, as in your goal should be a independent product increment that's adding value, and if it's not, and it's just a checklist of stuff, then
absolutely. And this adding value needs then in this bigger picture correlating with the key results that we want to achieve. And you simply continuously grade the KRs, you know, are we moving the needle or not? So if you see that for 2, you know, sprints teams are delivering like crazy, or Kanban, you know, I don't know, doesn't matter in the end, you know, you just proceed with your work and nothing is changing. We're still like, we want to move something from 5% to 10%, but we're still at 5 and we're working, nothing is happening. So also not helpful in empowering the teams, you know, because they want to have this success, you know. And
this is why, you know, because we also have this, for me, it's important to not force Scrum if somebody doesn't want to, right? Because I know that now the situation looks like this, that, okay, we will work in Scrum, right? Because this is the way to go. And I think that if we are speaking about empowerment and ownership, it's like, I don't know, you're the specialist. Okay, I just want to achieve that. And do you want to use Scrum for this? But this is like your decision if you want to use Scrum, not mine, right?
So is it then about goal alignment, as in, is it because some of those teams you might describe, their goal is essentially just getting stuff done in a sprint, which is clearly not a goal. But if you, does then the empowerment and ownership come with actually aligning to a goal that everybody understands? And
absolutely. I mean, Scrum is just a vehicle to achieve things. You can take Kanban or Scrumban or nothing. In the end, it's about the ecosystem and the company and what they agree on doing. Why I personally like Scrum is, product development is complex, is full of moving parts, full of surprises, full of moving parts. Unfortunately, the user and the customer not always acts like intended, And what Scrum provides are small batches, sprints, where you work on stuff you see, is something actually happening here, is something changing or not, and then you can reiterate or change the course, pivot. I don't know. Depends on what you tend to do. And this is one of the things why I like this approach. Actually, this framework. Still, I work with Scrum since 2008. I saw a lot of other things. I'm 25 years now in the business, so I saw like waterfallish and other project management structures or product management structures or however you call it. And maybe when I would build a car, I would do something different, use something different. But in our ecosystem, I feel the providing, and if maybe this is our only cadences and Kanban, it doesn't matter in the end, but providing a structure where you can inspect and adapt quickly, and this is kind of part of the DNA of the company. I find this valuable in our ecosystem.
Yeah, that's true.
I think with the empowerment, so go on, Marek.
Yeah, because I actually get maybe it's off top, but it's also connected with empowerment. I have friends in different branches than IT, in different industries, and they are really interested in what we are doing here. They say that we basically we are the leaders in the management, in the modern management, and usually at some point they want to. I've made a couple of presentations about the Scrum, about methodologies in IT to, for example, car industry, and they were really, really surprised, and they say that, whoa, this is really great stuff, and for me it was like business as usual, and they were really like interested in that. So it seems like a good way to go, even outside of the IT, right?
I get my daughter. She has some ADHD attributes that she deals with, and just getting her using Kanban as simple as like organizing her works and one task and orientation at a time. But even I have a friend as well in the Scrum community that was doing homeschooling way before lockdown and used Scrum to do that. And relating back to the topic specifically around like empowerment and ownership, what it did was put the ownership of learning onto his daughter, because it was, okay, this is your learning. What are you going to do this week that's going to get you towards this goal that we're aiming at? So it's kind of a safe way to practice some of that empowerment as well in a short loop.
Absolutely. And the fact that teams are empowered to commit to something, they choose what they believe they can achieve, helps them to be empowered and that, to learn the responsibility of whatever, it also highlights, are we able to influence the ecosystem around us if something doesn't work out, and we can explain why it didn't work out? It's way easier to explain something in 2 weeks or 3 weeks batches instead of you come back to the stakeholder 3 months after and then you realize, well, we have 27,000 points that didn't work. Just saying, making up something, so those batches, I think, are very helpful in also empowering the teams, raising their hands, showing, I don't know, we did this and that doesn't work. We faced obstacles, and this is, for example, a piece where leaderships come totally into play. when teams raise their voice, raise their hands, something is not working, they address problems and would like to have the help of leadership to get rid of those problems. This is a great way also for leadership to, take over responsibility, fix problems. It's a great way of killing, moral and engagement when teams are raising issues and they are still there, nothing is happening. So I think this is how you can also reduce and decrease engagement a lot, because and this is where leadership comes into play. It's so much that leadership can do, not only present a list of 100 features that need to be done, but this is where responsibility is being shared, and it works.
Yeah. Just speaking of problems, don't seem to be able to see your camera at the minute. Marek, can you not see Tom either?
No, I could. So
I think it's that.
What's going on?
No, you're back. It's fine. We do have a question from the audience, if I can segue into that slightly. And I think it leads into that kind of the idea of ownership and teams learning and things as they go. So Rob has asked, ownership is awesome, but some people and teams don't have the competency or say the skills maybe that they need to succeed. How do you ensure that ownership doesn't lead to the wrong outcomes? So we've started talking about that kind of, I get that relationship between, or the balance between autonomy and anarchy. But what if you set up a team to be empowered and you give them the decision making, but they just don't have the skills yet that they need to be able to succeed? That can be quite damaging, obviously, to the confidence and to the company. How do you set teams up for success when they're struggling with some of those skills?
Yeah, great question. So ideally, you understand the problem upfront, because before you combine the team, ideally. Mm-hmm. So interesting topic. I don't know if this really answers the question, but I'm lucky to work in ecosystems where I can foster long-living, stable, interdisciplinary product teams. So what we try to do is to be as close as possible to our core user journeys and create teams that are close to this core user journeys. Why? Because it's important, I believe, truly important, if you really have like ownership and success in your field, in our ecosystems, to really understand and go deep into user problems, UX, UI, all the things, really try to understand. And that takes time a little bit. And stable product teams being responsible for a certain set of features are helping to avoid this problem. So this is one portion of the answer, maybe. Why? Because in the end, one extremely positive thing about long-lasting or stable teams is they can start to rely on each other. They know each other. They know about their weaknesses, also about their strengths, and they can help each other. This is why I try always to assemble, teams that are as interdisciplinary, and everybody's on board that needs to be on board to get the job done, and then they start to help each other. And of course, when we're selecting the teams and we are asking our colleagues if they're happy to join the team or which team they want to join, we also try to highlight what kind of skill set is necessary. And if not there, then we are training, coaching, supporting people. I mean, how else can you help someone who has not the skill set? You need to coach them, to help them, train them, whatever it takes to give them the skills, right? To make them happy and live a successful developer life.
That's why I always want to build this kind of mixed teams. I call the perfectly balanced teams. So there are some experienced people there that know what they're doing, but they're also like this fresh energy with maybe less experienced people. But those are not like those are just the different people, not the worse people or anything, right? So we have to understand that for example, having juniors in the project, this is what I always get asked, can we have like only seniors kind of thing? This is not really working so well on the long run if you only have seniors in the team. Because actually junior developers are always bringing more of this kind of energy and support, and basically they are learning, and yeah, hey, if you want to have more experienced people in the future, you have to somehow make them do this experience thing, right? So
Having someone ask questions and bring that
yeah.
diversity of thought, isn't it? That
Yeah,
makes
so this is also about the diversity a little bit, right? And basically it's about mutual respect and having this kind of all kind of people on the team, and even if they are less experienced, maybe they should be in the group of more experienced ones, and then they learn and they become so, right? Yeah, it's
Fully agree.
so this is how we usually want to approach this. It's also like answering your question, the question that was there. You would be surprised sometime. I agree that it's not always the case, but you would be surprised if you really have this leap of trust sometimes for somebody or for team, and how differently this person behaves after you show that you trust them,
Oh yeah.
that you see that they have really like some kind of autonomy. I had this kinds of things in the past, and this is very, very difficult. And as I say, it doesn't work always, right? But I've seen this, that I really thought that, okay, this guy can never be like the senior one, or oh, he will not handle this. Oh my god, he will not do this, right? But somebody convinced me to let go. Okay, just let go and see how it happens. And I was really surprised that the behavior of this person completely changed after I just gave him this empowerment that he really needed.
interesting. Yeah, do some people, maybe sometimes people don't know what they can do, let alone what they can do. Yeah, until you show them. I'm interested in the relationship, and it's something we touched on before the call as well, is that relationship between autonomy and accountability. And it always struck me, and we have a lot of conversations in the past with people, that one without the other just doesn't work. If someone takes on the accountability for something but they don't have the empowerment and the ownership to actually influence it or do something, then someone's going to get really annoyed very quickly, right? Because they'll get all the blame for something and they can't have any of the influence to change it. But equally, if you give somebody all the autonomy and the empowerment and the ownership of something without any actual accountability for whether that's successful or not, then that's how you probably end up in the anarchy bit, where they can just do what they want with no consequences. So how does that relationship work for you, and how do you see that working in organizations, balancing accountability and autonomy?
So yeah, I think first, what does accountability really means? I mean, will I lose my job when I fail? Well, not so good. Like usually people will be very sensitive about how much they raise their voice or raise their hand, or how much responsibility they take over. So I think this is very important to make clear, or also strive into a direction of the term psychological safety, where in a team it's you have a good, let's say, failure culture. That sounds even wrong, because it's all learning. Failure means always something like somebody that intended, but it's not. I mean, this is learning, and learning. If everybody would be like perfect, then we wouldn't have this talk maybe here. So this is always the path to growth. And accountability, I mean, it's also a piece of culture, and it's also a journey. Again, if you're in a command and control environment and your boss enters the room, shouts, yeah, you're empowered now, and then exits the room, and from there on you're accountable for this. This is not working. So in order to be really accountable, this comes way after being even empowered. You need to there are so many steps in between. You have to have the ability of influence. You need to understand why you are doing the things that we are doing. You have to have enough data provided, maybe by leadership. You need to have the direction, guarding rails. being able to have time to product discovery. Huge portion of it's not only coding, it's trying to understand what I'm building. Is this working? A/B testing, all this. And if you, as a team, feel comfortable that you have all the tools in your hand, and you have like a trust relationship with your leadership, I think this is where you can start to talk about accountability. Who would voluntarily be accountable for something if you can't influence your ecosystem? Nobody would raise their hand. Everybody would quit because they know if I fail, I get punished. Nah. But it's possible. So the teams I've worked with, in those kind of, let's say, progressive environments, they have been happy to be accountable for something. They have been fighting for success, in the sense that they know they had all the tools at hand to succeed. And it's just about, the art of our job to get stuff done. Absolutely possible. Absolutely a cultural change in the whole company. From leadership, top manager, down to, down is not so good, but you get my point.
Yep.
To everyone.
It sounds as though you're describing it as almost like an order of a flow of empowerment first, and then grow the competency and the skills around it, and then comes the accountability. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, in our product development life, it's not only developers, it's not only product people, it's let's say marketing around sales, customer care. So many people, are maybe needed in order to have successful products, and then the whole team can be accountable if they want to be accountable. Usually, the fun fact is, so my experience is majority of people really want to be accountable if the stuff around them is empowering them to be accountable.
Yeah, totally agree. We once had this the situation with change in the QA process, but it's not your company, it's different one. But because here is kind of similar. But so the client wanted to change a little bit how we approach the QA, basically putting more responsibilities on developers, which is also a very broad topic right now about if developers, what's the part of the QA on the developer side. But anyway, so the team didn't really feel good with this at the beginning, and basically they said, okay, so will we be accountable for it, or we just have to do it, or what, right? And basically it was, as you said, Emma. So the first flow was that we started, okay, so let's just try it out for 1 month, see what happens. Then we'll gather feedback, how it should really work, like after this 1 month. Then we'll continue do it this way, but you are not accountable yet because you don't, this is something new, this is experiment, right? And over time, when we'll finally work it out together, right? And you will feel that now it works perfectly fine, then when this accountability part comes in, right? After people say, okay, yeah, now we are ready for the accountability.
Nice.
And this is not theoretical, it works. Experience, really, it works.
I guess that leads on to, by all means, everybody else that's watching, we've got about 15-20 minutes or so left, so do jump in with any more questions. But it leads me on to that question of I guess how you get started. So you're engineering leader in an organization, maybe not that it's ever the case, but maybe you've got several teams now that the morale's not so good, people are just going through the grindstone and they're just getting things done, and you're keen on kind of devolving some of that responsibility and that empowerment down to the teams. What are the first steps then? So you're leading those teams.
I think Emma is out, but let's continue.
Sorry, decided to cut out. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. And not again.
Not really. Okay, but
how to start? I think I got the question.
Yep.
So
carry on.
Yeah. So maybe I can quickly jump in. I think how to start. 2 thoughts. Number 1, listen. Like always, actually, as a leader, you listen to your teams. Mm-hmm. Usually, they come up with what's not going on properly. So you better listen, and you better listen well if you want to keep them. Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, as a leader, or I don't know, as a management team, or maybe even as a group of, you need to have a vision. You need to know what is the direction I want to take. And if you have this vision and you know how to, what the goal is, empowerment teams, you can, at first I would say, really surface this. So this is our goal. This is super important at first, and listen to the teams, of course, and listen well. And then there are so many steps to achieve this. You need to identify and understand, really screen your ecosystem. Like, where are we now? Let's make an inventory. Like, what is our framework? What are our methodologies? Why are people actually not yet empowered? What's going on? And I mean, from there on, there are a gazillion ways of changing things, But again, like if you're coming from a command and control environment, I think you unfortunately need to tackle this from both sides, like from the management and also from the developer sides, maybe. But I assume, unfortunately, if you can't change your ecosystem, leadership, management, and embracing the idea of empowered teams, it's going to be very, very hard to have a successful empowered team. So I think this is where it starts, right?
Mm-hmm. Marek?
Also.
Yeah, I believe. So I think that the first step is, unless you don't have it already, but I think that the first step is to make sure that the development team knows where they are in the whole company and what the rest of the company is doing, right? And they can compare their work to other departments and see how it all clicks and if it clicks, right? And you have all of the representatives at least sitting on one table and discussing things. And actually, I really love this kind of interdisciplinary cross department meetings. It works very well if you meet people from completely different branches, industries, or even different departments in the same company, and they actually see that they have something in common, or they say, hey, we also have this from a marketing, for example. We have meetings. There's a representative of a marketing on the development meetings as well, and sometimes they say something like, hey, but you know that in marketing we do it this and that, right? And it's like very surprising for us, right? So I really encourage all of you to maybe have this kind of town hall meetings, let's call it this way, and really storm the ideas. That's one thing. About Scrum, I think that if you have, and most of the companies have Scrum right now, or any Scrumish thing, right? It's very important to to pay attention to the retrospective meeting. I think this is the very important thing to start. If you want to start somewhere, I would suggest to take a look of how retrospective meeting looks like in your company.
Absolutely. Fully agree. And also, I just realized, I just wanted to raise my hand with the Google Hangout feature, and there is no hand to raise. Okay, so I'm going to jump in. What I just wanted to add, what I said prior, with also, management need to be involved into, like, is this actually the direction we want to take, empowered teams, and if yes, how to proceed. There are a lot of ways also to tackle this. I mean, Marek, you just said it. When you have Scrum, I mean, how to gain trust, mutual trust is teams are able to pull their own sprint goals and succeed. They, like, if you can highlight that you have teams that are engaged already, and they found ways to succeed, to have successful features. They have time to discover, they have time to test, they have time to talk with users, they have time to understand the business. What could be better than this? Is like the beginning of a great future, And I mean, also when management is not sure, like, can we really trust or not? Visit meetings together with developers and check the engagement rate in those meetings. Is this a healthy discussions? Are they talking, or are they maybe they are still quiet because the manager is sitting in the room. I don't know. But however, so there are so many ways to kick off this process of even more engagement, even more empowerment.
Yeah, that's how do you do it, Tom? Because I would what you said, I would really love to pay a visit to some of my teams, but I know that I cannot just join them and say like, "Hey, I am not here," right? Just do your own job, and don't pay attention to me at all, right? So it's really hard, to see what's happening there if you.
Well, ideally.
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if this mic's on. Yes.
Yes.
It's what I call the Schrodinger effect when I'm with clients, is that the act of observing disturbs the observed. So as soon as you're in there, we get very quantum about it now. We've got a couple more questions.
Yes and no. Yeah.
A couple more questions in from the audience. So we've only got about 10 minutes or so. So maybe we can run through a couple of these quickly.
Sure.
We've got Ruben has asked, can you even have accountability placed on individuals or teams if they don't have much say in what they're going to be building? So I guess this is a difference as well between accountability and autonomy. Can someone be accountable if they haven't decided what they're doing? Or is this the what and the how?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a nasty question. If you build something completely new, you don't have any kind of experience in this area, you build something new, you better have a chance to influence the goal, the set of stuff that should happen. You have to have time to discover. If you're super experienced, it's just a, let's say, tiny feature, but promised this to a customer or so, it's a high integrity commitment or so, then I think that can work, but it should be the exception. And ideally, of course, people have an influence, and this is part of the negotiation process also in OKRs, they can influence and they have a part in choosing what will be done, or how it's going to be built. I mean, again, the business goal is exposed. We know we want to reach, 10% higher conversion or so. And then together with the teams, we're going to decide how we think we can achieve this. And the teams are in the game, in the meeting, are absolutely able and should be able to influence the direction of how it's going to be built, how it's going to be achieved. Let's phrase it like that.
Marek, anything else?
Yeah, well, I would also focus on the on the first, maybe dodge this question a little bit and say that if the empowerment or the accountability should be on the person or on the team, because this is how the question started, with this person / team. So I think that it should rather be on team than on a person, but that also comes to the question, okay, so what's the accountability on the person, right? But seeing how it usually works the best is if the accountability is still on the team, which is even harder because you have to have this culture, right, of accountability. But basically, we had this problems in the past that the team wasn't actually a team. It was just a number of individuals playing their own game, and each of them was accountable, but they were just accountable as a person. Okay, so I did my backend integration job and I'm done, right?
Like mini waterfall in the team also.
Yeah. And I think that the accountability should rather be on the team. And this also helps maybe because you are not alone with your accountability.
Absolutely.
And you can really, but as you said, Tom, it's really also about making sure that the other stuff that happens in the team are somehow in control of everyone. So this comes to this T-shaped kind of skill set, right? Where actually each of the team members should have like their own expertise on something, but it doesn't mean that they don't have to test, they don't have to do the DevOps job, CI, or any other stuff, right? So it really should work in the way that everybody can understand anything. Yeah, I also had this kind of example like 2 weeks ago. Actually, we were just in the final phase and just everyone just started to test the app because this is this was the most important stuff, was to test it and do some regression testing. So the developers just started doing the regression testing, right? It's not like there is just,
of course, I mean,
right?
Yeah, and I think when it's exposed to everyone what needs to be done, they are maybe even happy to take over, because it's part of getting the job done. It's not like you need to do this, like we need to do this, and let's see.
That shared ownership in a team, that takes so much trust, though, doesn't it? And that can be quite difficult for organizations to understand. I mean, we've all probably worked with organizations that want one neck to wring rather than understanding shared ownership.
And this is why I embrace more long-living, stable teams instead of, creating teams every 8 weeks and they barely know each other, and then they have to trust each other. And I mean, things can always work, but I made like big time better experiences with stable teams, big time.
That leads nicely just onto this last question. We probably just have time for this and then to wrap round, which I think it probably leads very well into this. So this is a question from Mick says, everyone likes to feel like they are succeeding, and empowered teams who feel like they are succeeding are immensely powerful and productive. How do you best create an environment where you can show your team the successes of their empowerment along the way? And I should imagine that stable team scenario is probably going to be that part of that, isn't it? And building up the trust and the stability so that you can have an environment that really fosters that. So what else? How do you allow that to grow and succeed in your organization?
Please, Marek, go on.
Yep. Okay. So first of all, it's very important to celebrate the success. This is important stuff, because sometimes we are missing this, especially if this is like a long-term project and there isn't an end. This is how usually the IT project looks like, that there is not like a final line and we can celebrate. So we have to really set those kind of milestones or anything and just celebrate those successes, right? So the team feels like it is, right? It is a success. Also, it's good to show like the final results of their work to the teams. It's from my experience, it's really like encouraging them a lot. We some time ago we had a discussion. What's the perfect client for us, right? And so what's the client that the developers are the most happy with, right? And there was like a certain technology stack or procedures or everything, but all in all, it ended up in, that people feel the most comfortable in the projects where they can see that somebody is actually using that and it's really helping someone.
Absolutely. Purpose. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Also, my experience is that, most developers are developers because they love to solve problems, in some way, and ideally, of course, for the customers. And if you have a goal, to solve a problem for a customer and to see that it worked out, like what you have been working on, several sprints or whatever, what could be better? Ultimate success factor is good people stay in the company. This is, of course, an important piece, so you created an environment where people love to work and they stay with you. That's a good sign. And again, you can start small, whatever that means in this case, but, reviews, for example, you celebrate your sprint. Ideally, it was a successful one, you achieved something that was shippable and maybe already has been shipped during the sprint, and you see already good feedback from users, good numbers, I don't know. This is the tiny piece. How to grow trust, I believe mutual trust also between leadership and teams it's really great when management shows up in reviews, and the reviews are not only visited by team members and maybe the product owner also. So this is also a great way to party the success, And,
I think for me also, isn't there not? Do you think there's something about? We talked a lot then about celebrating the success and really amplifying those wins, and I think there's also something about not allowing stuff to just get swept under the carpet as well. As how you build trust is being really open about, okay, that wasn't so great, and it's fine. Like the consequence. I think you mentioned on autonomy, are you going to lose your job over this? Well, no. You look, didn't work. Tried something, didn't work. That's fine. Let's try something else. And I think that's how people get braver sometimes about taking risks or trying new things, is that it's fine. It doesn't always mean it worked, and that's okay. And I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe just one thought. What I also observe often is when something went wrong. Okay, happens. When the second time went wrong, okay, let's inspect why. Third time, team members get super obsessed and also angry with each other, maybe. So how could that happen? Like third time we screwed this up. Like how? So you don't even. This is a great way. This is a great example of when you have engaged people. They're super frustrated and something went again wrong, which was actually in their influence area. And they're like, dang, we spoke about this already 15 times and it's still not working. Let's fix this now. I love this kind of occurrences.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why if you want to have like a place where to start, it's good to see this retrospective, how retrospective works in your company, and it will tell you a lot about how team members feel about the job they're doing by the way that they are talking to each other on this retro. Will actually show you the general. The general feelings about the project.
Yeah, and how others, not only the team, can support when the most important action items out of retros, are ending up in the next sprint. They're exposed to everyone, and we fix stuff together. And leadership, for example, can help also to get rid of obstacles or impediments, or however we're going to call it. Also, a great way of fixing the environment, let's say.
Yeah.
Cool. We just have gone.
Yep. Because as Tom, as you said, there will always be obstacles, because in IT right now, it's a bumpy road. It's always a bumpy road, right? When you create. So the empowerment is about that. Okay, but there are a couple of roads to choose, right? But all of them are bumpy. But if people will choose their own road, they are not complaining so much that it is bumpy because they have chosen it, right? But if you say, hey, you have to go this road, they will say like, okay, but this is bumpy.
Cool. We just have a couple of minutes left. Are there any closing thoughts? You're going to give a nugget of advice or recommend a new resource that someone should point to? How would you, what can you offer people in the closing couple of minutes?
Yeah, so I think, again, I think to be like super positive, because I'm not making this up. It's working. It's possible to have empowered teams, like seriously. But it's a journey, so it doesn't come for free. And I think we explained already a few steps that can be taken and how to do things. I mean, there are also a gazillion of books out there. I think a few things, maybe super high level, but extremely helpful, was also like, I don't know, which I also shared with management members, Unicorn and Phoenix Project of Gene Kim, famous book, very, very helpful. Also DevOps handbook, highlighting where you can come from and where you can end up when things go right, And also Empowered by Marty Kagan and Chris Jones, a great book. Also for managers, how to grow an ecosystem and environment where people can grow and be empowered. I think this is always a nice starting point. And
cool. Marek?
And reach out to me via LinkedIn if I can help you guys.
I've just posted.
You can also reach me. I see that I cannot paste anything in the chat. But, okay,
all right.
Unless. But the team topologies is a kind of good book also about it. Also the thing that Tim mentioned about this long-lasting teams, this is usually called durable teams. So you can Google it. So durable teams is more about making this kind of ownership. It's you can Google this term, and there will be lots of positions that pop up. Also, I had a nice chat with Luca Mezzalira some time ago about micro frontends. You can find it somewhere in the CTO Craft Bytes. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. We also talked about empowerment there, because those are like technical tools to make sure that actually there is some autonomy in the space of the technical modules, right? So it's you can also like read this book. It's really great about also like making this empowerment from the technical side of view.
Cool. Right.
Okay. Oh, maybe really quick, I can also recommend Accelerate from Jess Humble. A great book, awesome book about like how to build up highly effective teams. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining today, and everyone in the chat, the audience too. The videos for these are available afterwards. There is another event next week, but I just checked the link for it, and I don't think it's live yet. But if the links were posted earlier about following on Eventbrite and on Crowdcast, you'll get those notifications as well. Then they do come in. Over in the chat, I have posted LinkedIn connections for all three of us. And if you're not in the Slack groups already, join and we can carry on the conversation there. And we'll chat to you again soon. Thanks both. See you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.